It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse with me as usual. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm good this morning.
Did you survive the fourth? Did you get out? Did you? It was a weird
Uh,
kind of fourth. The worst day was the actual fourth.
yeah. It was kind of a rain out, and there was a lot of fireworks in the neighborhood. I don't think I even went to a window to look at the where it was blowing up, though. I've kind of given up on them. I don't really care about them. Although I remember one night years ago flying back in from a road trip out on the West Coast, and on a clear Fourth of July, and I had a window seat on the plane, and man, that
Yeah.
was right time of from Sioux Falls to Minneapolis. We saw nothing but fireworks, civics, fireworks displays. So that was kind of neat seeing it
Yeah.
from up there. And my old man was a fireworks psychotic. He used to put on a display for the lake, at Fall the Lake, but I'm not into it like I used to be. It's just there's too many people and mosquitoes, And this is going to be a big year for mosquitoes too.
Oh,
They're
already
coming
is.
out, man, because they're
I got,
all that rain, man. There's nothing you can do about it. So
yeah.
if you give me my choice between the beauty of fireworks lighting up the evening sky, or getting swarmed by mosquitoes and staying in the house, I'm going to stay in the house. I do not do mosquitoes well. I don't trust them.
No,
So,
no, they're bad this year. They are bad this year. I got bit up pretty good on, I think it was the 5th of July. We went and finally saw fireworks. Speaking of planes, our kids were very concerned because the fireworks. So we went to the ones down in Apple Valley that got rescheduled for Friday. Their
mhm.
kids were very concerned because the fireworks were like definitely like right on the landing flight path of
The
incoming
planes.
planes. It was like there was like it's gonna
Oh, we
get hit.
thought we
I'm
were
like
going to see.
no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's just the
no,
angle we're at. It's okay.
that would have lit up the evening sky. But anyway, well, that's good. Anyway,
Yeah, we had good times.
not much of a fourth.
No, but everything
I
else was fine.
Yeah, although we did go to a movie, Kinds of Kindness, and one of the rare walkouts for the
Oh
Riceys.
wow.
It was
Okay.
awful. It was awful. And the new Jesse Slemons, Kirsten Dunst's
Yeah.
husband there, he's lost like 50 pounds. He's not the big goofy lump that he is in everything else. So
Okay.
I liked him better as a lump too. So that was bad too. Anyway, don't go to
We
well,
we
yeah, go to Kinds of Kindness if you want to, but it stinks. Okay.
we
Anyway,
we had a different cinematic experience than you, Patrick. We went to see Despicable Me 4.
oh, I love
So
Despicable Me. I love
uh,
that
the
guy.
the
He's
new one
great.
just came out Wednesday, so you can go see that.
Mhm.
Maybe you won't walk out of that one. It was pretty
The
good. It
the
was decent.
the concept of the people being of those little guys being attracted to evil is pretty good. I
Yes,
love
yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty
it.
good.
It's a
It definitely had its
good
moments. Twins are having a lot of moments. If we can transition to the sports talk, only one All Star though, only Carlos Correa, but that's I'm sure that'll change as people drop out and stuff like that. Just kind of shows good team, but a team that's a bit anonymous right now with some of its stars, and obviously with Royce hurt, that takes some of that out of the some of that star power out of the equation. But they keep hitting. I mean, Jose Miranda, you wrote about him over the weekend. That is just amazing. But he was already having a great, a really impactful,
Oh yeah,
important year for them until he got 12 hits in a row.
12 hits in a row, and then yesterday finally got him out, and he got one. They didn't use him till what, the sixth or seventh inning yesterday, and the first pitch he sees, it's a rocket to left field.
Yes.
He is getting. He is. I talked to Rocco about it. Well, I didn't. I mean, I was in the group that talked
Yeah.
to him, and
Yeah. You asked him.
he's just getting his bat on the ball anywhere in the zone. It's most hitters today have to come up and look for a place. On each pitch, you say, okay, I'm going to cover that part of the strike zone or that part. He's covering the whole thing right now, and he's got bat speed, he's got reach. He's going to hit he likes the ball away, actually. Most
Yeah.
guys, want it in the happy zone in there, but he likes the ball away. And man, I went over. I remember we're going over in August. I looked it up in like mid-August of 2021 when
Yep.
he started the year at Wichita, and
Yep.
then he came to the Saints, and his his numbers were identical at both places. Like he had 347 one place and 346 the other with power. And but you could see they tried him in left field for about 3 games and he
Yeah.
almost lost his life. And then
Yes.
and then they played him at second, some even a big guy, and that didn't work. So then they played him at third, and he was tolerable. I'd say they were saying. I saw him a couple of times that year at third, and not too good. And then 2022. When you look at his numbers back from that year, they aren't bad, but he was awful at
No.
first base. He had no idea what
Right.
he was doing. He loved to chase the ball that was hit to his right over in the middle of the hole, but
Yes.
there nobody covered the first base,
It's
and
probably the hardest thing to
he
learn, isn't it, too?
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. He ran around in circles there, and
Yeah.
he got marginally better, but the infielders hated him because they threw the ball in the dirt. It ended up, he didn't rescue them very often
No.
with scoops or anything.
Right.
And then last year, I think he came to spring training not, fighting for his job basically because he'd gotten sent back in 22, and then he had the shoulder problem and had to have surgery, and it was basically a lost year. And in spring training, he was really an afterthought. I mean,
Yeah.
he was not a candidate to make the team, and it was just and Royce getting hurt again
Right.
got him back up here, and
Well,
now he's
and probably Brooks Lee being hurt at the time too, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, that's right. Yeah, they might. I don't know if they would have been ready to call Lee that quick, but maybe they would have. But he's a right-handed hitter, and they need that too because
yes.
they are, they got a lot of lefties. Not quite as many, but they got a lot of lefties. So yeah, but man, he's been a phenomenal addition and clutch and power to left and power to right and the gaps and he's not like just sitting on a pitch trying to hit a home run either. He just the first pitch he sees, he's an example of the Herbeck Gaetti theory. See the ball, hit the ball. That's what he's doing, and pretty fantastic. Well, it's been done 3 times in history, 12 straight at bats.
Yes.
I saw the AP lead said 12 straight plate appearances. No, at bats. The
Yeah.
walks, sacrifice fly don't count because
No.
he had what got hit by a pitch in that time. So, but it was
Yes.
12 straight, and it's only happened 3 times in baseball history: 1902, 1953, and then some 1930s or something like
You
that.
know, it's
So,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, it was a phenomenal event down there. And, you know, it was then Rocco doesn't bat him in the ninth inning.
Right.
I think he was afraid they'd throw at him because they'd hit Altuve and
Oh
they'd
yeah.
hit 2 other hitters. That Funderback hit another hitter or two. He's been hitting a bunch of them, and I think Rocco wouldn't admit it that I hadn't a chance to actually talk to him and ask him, but I think they didn't want him to get hit, so that's why they did it. When you gotta, when the other team's over there screaming at you in the dugout for hitting people, and you got a guy that's had hits in ten
All those
straight
hits.
games,
Yeah.
10 straight up, your caution is the better part of valor in that situation. And
Well,
the crowd was
eh,
mad though; they hung around, and they had a good crowd Friday night for some reason, and it wasn't. They didn't shoot off fireworks or anything,
okay.
but they had 30
Hmm.
some thousand. I don't
Hmm.
know what it was. It was just, I guess, Friday night was easier than no picnics. So the people who stayed in town had, wanted to go. But anyway, yeah, they lost that one, but they've now 6 straight series, right? That they've won 2 out of 3.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's 6 straight, and it's in the game you were talking about that you got lifted when they were down 13-4 when the inning
Five,
started, right?
13-5. Yeah. I
13-5. I
think
thought they scored eight. I
13-5.
thought they scored eight. Okay.
Maybe they did score 8. I don't know. I thought
Okay. Anyway, they rallied big and came up just short, and then but yeah, Miranda's just a good example of how many surprising, not surprising maybe because these are all big leaguers, but they've needed a lot of these kind of somewhat unexpected. Where would they be without Woods Richardson? Where would they be
Yes.
without some of these other guys like Larnach being a
Well,
functional player this year?
Ober
Ober,
and Ryan being
yes,
a step
right,
better than
yes,
you thought they were. They're their two
true,
best starters, and
yeah,
trying to
that's
make
true.
up for Pablo being awful, but not awful, but
Hmm.
not the other night. He was terrible,
You thought
and
he'd
he
figured it
had
out,
two
didn't he? Yeah,
straight good games, but he's
right.
got no light. I don't care what you tell me about his metrics. My lion eyes tell me his stuff is not as good.
Not as good.
There's just not as much life on his pitches as he had last year,
No,
and so that disappointment. But yes, people are are going to be upset because we always complain about only having one All Star, and somebody from the pitching staff will probably make it, but.
sure, eventually.
But I think it's almost a tribute to the way they've been playing
Yes,
that they have
agreed.
one All-Star. That's basically what you're saying because they got all
Yes,
these guys that are Willie Castro, very helpful. And
right.
okay, Kepler's cooled off now, but he was, he carried them for about 6 weeks to start the season when they
Yes.
weren't, you know. So yeah, I mean, and then Wallner comes back up yesterday and hits an absolute rocket and out to right center field and makes a great catch in left field. And then Rocco puts Margot in the game, which
Yep.
I don't know why you want to. If you don't have to, I don't know why you want to do that because he might get hit in the face with every line drive that hits out there. He's brutal in the field the
And he
way
was supposed
so
to be
far.
he was supposed to be really good. That was like one of the
Well,
selling points was that he was a good fielder.
I know. 2 years ago, I talked to my friend Mark Topkin about him when a trade was made, and he said he was 2 years ago. He's a hell of an outfielder for him, and last year he had a very bad year
Hmm.
defensively, and that's now he's I don't know, but he can't play left field at target center, target field
Target.
because he can't pick up the ball, and so he's hitting him in the glove and the chase, and
How
face, and
does
everything
how does
else.
how does fielding go away? I feel like that's
I
like
don't
that
know.
should be one of the most consistent parts of someone's game. Like your stats might fluctuate a little bit year by year
Mhm.
based on, just weird little variances of errors and such, but you shouldn't stop being a good fielder if you were a good
Yeah.
fielder.
Yeah, he's he doesn't he's not that old yet. I think what
No.
he's or 29 or 30 or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. He hasn't been a valuable asset, that's
No.
for sure. But I gotta admit this,
Okay.
yesterday's game.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at home watching,
Yep.
screaming at the TV when the chubby catcher,
Just gonna ask
when
you about that. Yep.
Simeon Woods Richardson
Oh, this is different.
is
Okay. Yeah.
gets to the this is why I got on him.
Okay.
Richardson is like 1 and 2, and he's doing fine in the second inning.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy sets up in the other batter's box basically.
Mm-hmm.
So Woods Richardson hits the
Mm-hmm.
glove where he puts it. It's 8 inches off the corner.
Yep.
So now he's got a ball. So
Yeah.
now they think they're going to chase. Well, the Astros are the least chasing
Yes.
team in baseball.
That's what they're built on. Correct.
So that makes it 2-2. Then he tries to hit the corner again, and it's 3-2. And then he walks the guy. Same next time, it's 2-2, and he's over there in the batter's box again on a 2-2 pitch. So he gets him behind 3-2, and the old guide him. Well, with the strike zone they use now, you don't get that.
No.
Maddox used to set up over there, and Maddox would hit the glove and it'd be a strike, right? It'd be
Right.
5 inches off the plate, but they'd be a
Yeah.
strike. That's not the way it is now. So
No.
he basically forces Woods Richardson into bad counts, and then he ends up having a 30-some pitch inning, and he's lucky he didn't give up more than he did. What he got 3 that inning,
Yeah, I think so.
and so after that, they went back to, he went back to just throwing, and they challenged some hitters instead of trying to get him, and he
Chase all
went
the time.
tired 13 in a row. And he's been hearing, but so I'm complaining about that, and then he runs the bases like a little leaguer. You don't have a T-baller yet. The
No, not
Vasquez
yet.
could teach him base running. And so I'm ripping the hell out of him, and he wins the game
He
with a
hits the
home
home
run.
run. I was going to say,
And
how
I hit
surprised
the
were you? Jeez.
I was shocked. I said, "My God," you know, because I declared it one of the five worst contracts ever paid in
It's
Twins
not good.
history.
Got another year
Well, it
left, too.
still isn't good. But what is it,
Yeah.
10 or
10 for,
11
yeah,
or
3 for
something?
30. It was 3 for 30. Like,
Three
got
for
to have a
30.
catcher. Got to have a catcher. Like,
Yeah.
then Jeffers turns into
Wow.
a good player. And
And then the other game, like on was it Friday night or Thursday when he had to get one of them they lost. It might have even been Wednesday. I don't know, but he dropped two throws at home plate
oh, yeah.
to
Yeah.
add two outs, and he screwed up twice in a row. So he's not great at I the pitchers apparently like throwing to him, at least the veterans, and but he's not good at receiving the ball goes back to the backstop more with him catching than it does when Jeffers is catching.
Yes.
He's got anyway. So
Do they?
and then he hits the home run, and which is I mean off Hader, who's not
Yes.
been what he's supposed to be with that club, but yeah, they beat 2 out of 3 to the hottest team in baseball, so
Yes.
that's pretty good.
They're going good. And do they not have, I mean, do they not have anybody pushing him? Because you got to think they're getting kind of tired of this too. But I think I read the
Oh
other day
no,
they don't have a single catcher like in their top 20 prospects right now. They're just not deep at catcher right now, and that could be something they go after in the draft to kind of build that up
Camargo.
organizationally.
Camargo's he's on the
Yeah.
roster and he's got a bat, but he's not much of a catcher.
Okay.
He's a hitter more than a catcher. Plus, they like the wily veteran. Even if
Uh,
he's not that
right.
wily, he's going to be around.
It's important too
Yeah,
if the
they're not going
pitchers
to.
like throwing to
I think they'd move him, but they're not going to just
well,
give away the 10
no,
million bucks modern
no,
times. So
that's
leave
true.
him where
That's
he's
true.
stuck with him again. And they actually play him. You know, they're playing him more now that Jeffers has cooled off to some degree,
Yes.
but it looks like Jeffers might be getting hot again. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, that tells you how you're going though when he hits a home run, when he hits a game
Yes.
winning walk off, and you've already used Alcala, Jackson, Duran, so you're going to go to the 10th inning and you're going to be to the B squad
Right.
relievers, and how about that Stamot though? He's throwing
Yeah.
100. Where did that
Yes.
come from? Man,
All these guys throw 100 now. It's amazing. I don't know how
oh
they all add, like they just go and figure it out and just get, the spin and the
I
designer
was
pitches and they build up the arms and there you go.
and I was watching and I was moved to tweet this about the eighth inning. This guy Arrighetti is pitching for them, right? And he's a
Yeah.
rookie, and they like him a prospect, but he's hadn't had a great year. But that guy, his stuff was great, and it
Yeah.
was never in the middle of nobody's ever. They don't pitch in the middle of the zone anymore. They don't.
No.
You can watch a whole game and not see a hanging slider.
Yes.
Everything's on the corners. Not only is it great stuff and a great variety of pitches, but it's all with the box. It's all on the lines. It's all
Yes.
out there on the lines on the box. It's I, how you hit now. It's that's what Miranda when Miranda's doing it, and then when we get a
Yes.
25-run game, it's amazing. I mean, we talk about the hitting's bad. Well, the pitching is so damn
So
good.
good.
It is. I mean, and the variety, and well, we don't like to have him face now the Twins aren't stuck with that. We don't like him to face the batters the third time around, but there's
Right.
people they're still doing that. Not the Twins so much now, but since last year, but pulling the guy, with 2 outs in the fifth because
Yep.
they're coming up the third time, and
Right.
but I was anyway. That's what I was moved to do, and I tweeted that in the eighth inning or so that this is impossible to hit, and
Yes.
they're too damn good, and there's too many of them, and then this guy's Stamont comes in, he's throwing 101.
It's
What?
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
amazing.
and it's not just the velocity too, it's that they will not give in, right? It's like you used
Yes.
to you
Yeah.
used to watch games in the 80s and 90s. That's when I watched like the vast majority of like
Oh yeah.
That was the heyday of my baseball watching, because I
Yeah.
was, young and then, growing up into my early adulthood. And it was like you got to a 3-1 count, and now it's just like, well, he's got to throw him a fastball. And he was usually like
Yeah.
92, 93. It's like you get into a hitter's count now, you might get 8 different pitches. You're not going to, they don't just give in. They'd rather walk you sometimes just because they're not going to give you that pitch to hit. It's hard to, unless they make a mistake, you're not going to get a pitch to hit.
No, it's if it's the bottom of the 11th of the sixth game of the World Series, you aren't going to get Charlie Lebrand throwing a changeup
Just
right in the
lobbing
middle
one
of the
over.
plate,
Just
lobbing one
lobbing one
out and
over.
saying, "Hit it as far as you want, Buck."
Yeah.
It's they don't do that
Yeah.
anymore. And it's so much easier to improve pitching than it is hitting.
Yes. Yes.
Physically,
That's the thing. Right.
yeah, you can do all these things to make pitchers better, but you
Yes.
can't do nearly as bad. The only thing you can do with hitters is give them a little more batting practice and give them a little more information on what the guy is likely to throw them. And that's, again, to bring it up as you did, that's why what Miranda's been doing is
Yes.
it's a little tougher than it was when
Oh
Walt
gosh.
Dropo did it in 1953. I can tell you that.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
Walt Dropo did it. And I used to get baseball cards that Walt played all through the 50s. And I started
Yes.
collecting baseball cards in about 54. And I'd get
Okay.
very upset if Walt Dropo was in my pack. If he was one of those guys, I bet I had 25 Walt Dropo cards.
Yeah.
And, Miranda doing it in this modern times is pretty
It's amazing.
phenomenal. And
It's amazing. These guys, these
hitting
pitchers are
is impossible. It's
hitting is
impossible.
impossible. It is. It's impossible.
And
And
the
yeah.
other thing is, Mike, they're talking about, trying to come up with solutions.
Hmm.
Well, the electronic strike zone, make it a little smaller. Well, I don't want to sit there and watch
That's not what we
walks.
want.
I
It's
don't
more
want
offense, but it's
walks.
less
And
action. You might get more
yeah,
runs,
and
but that's not more action.
yeah, and then it's just they're just pitches too good. And you can't move the mound back because one of your big concerns is you've already speeded up the pitchers, and they're
Right.
complaining about that it's hurting
Right.
the arms. Well, if you make it 2 inches farther, and you're gonna,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, guys start having, even more Tommy John surgeries. Everybody's going to
Hmm.
say, "I can't move the mound back." So I don't know. It's like golf. It's like having the golf tournament at the John Deere and think that you can do something to stop these guys from
Right.
being 28 under. I mean,
Right.
it's just, unless you got some course that's like playing on asphalt where they can't putt and all
Right.
you can grow your grass, you can't stop them. They hit it
No.
330. Uh,
Yes.
I watched for 5 minutes of this stupid thing yesterday, and their 460-yard for par four that they had there, 10 years ago, they were hitting 6 irons, 7 iron. Now they're
Yeah.
hitting wedges.
Yeah.
They're hitting wedges into them. So it's like the pitching. Golf has an unsolvable problem with distance, and
Yeah.
baseball has an
Yeah.
unsolvable problem with pitching. It's too good.
Yes. It's too good. Yeah. The hitters they're a disadvantage. Sergeant did a story several years ago about some Twins players that went to like this place to get their eyesight improved. Maybe that's
Yes.
they got to send all the batters because they got to get all the batters at this place to get like 20/10 vision to get like locked in because that's a big part of hitting is being able to see the ball really
Yeah,
well and be
but
able
you
to see
only
the spin.
you got
I know.
tenths of a,
I
you
know.
got a hundredths
Only
of
helps so
seconds.
much. Only
You
helps
got
so much. I
hundreds of
know.
seconds.
Yeah.
It's the hardest skill in
Yes.
sports right now, hitting
Juice the
baseball.
ball. Juice the ball up again. Let's go. Let's get it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, might as well
Give him
put a
some
little
help with the
light
ball.
back in the ball. Yeah,
Give him some help with
why
the
were we
ball.
offended by home runs? I don't
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
why.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But the Twins holding that record. They're tied now, right? Didn't
Tied
Atlanta
with
tie them?
Atlanta. Atlanta
Yeah,
hit one on the last day.
that's right.
Who served it up? One of our former. Did Presley serve it
Yeah,
up? Something
I
like
can't
that.
remember. Yeah,
So,
307 is the number.
yeah,
Although
it's
them doing
07.
it 307 in 2023 is probably a little bit more impressive than 307 in 2019 when everybody
Yeah.
was hitting home runs.
Yeah. Yes. Although I was watching, I got one more thing. I was watching the Yankees, by the way, who got beat bloody by Boston. But the Tonk, there was the Tonk coming in,
What?
Michael
Oh my
Tonkin.
gosh, still.
Now he's now a Yankee. We had
Wow.
him, but I pitched him. Did he ever pitch here? They had him on the roster,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
he
he was up
pitched
for a while.
once.
He pitched, yeah.
He's
He's
had
not
four
not all that
clubs,
well.
but there he is, proudly wearing the Yankee uniform, the
Wow.
Tonk.
Good for him.
So.
Good for him.
Anyway,
Oh,
hey, how about this? I love this.
okay.
Since the Cincinnati Reds go into Yankee Stadium and win three in a row this week, Tuesday through
Amazing.
Thursday,
Yeah.
now Detroit goes into Cincinnati this weekend and wins three in Cincinnati. It's as Sid used to say, crazy game,
Crazy
crazy
game.
league, crazy league.
It
Except
is.
he
It
was
is
talking about
baseball.
football then, but right now it's a crazy league, yes.
Yeah, it is. This may be an awkward transition, but you offered me an entry point into football. Obviously, unfortunately, the big story over the weekend for the Vikings, the death of their rookie wide receiver. That just like you wake up to that. What was that? Yesterday morning, Saturday morning? I'm trying to remember which day it was, but that just kind of hits
Yeah,
you. And all the
wow.
guys that knew him, all the writers that had spent some time with him, all the coaches that had spent some time with him, you just reading everything about it. It's just the saddest of the sad things that could happen.
Yeah, yeah. Andrew Kramer actually had gotten together with him. I didn't realize this, and we'd already had a piece planned that
Right?
Andrew had already written it. Might have plugged in a little something new at the
Yeah.
start of training camp, but we had it ready to roll, and nobody ever thought it was going to be an obit, but
No.
that's how it turned out. And I mean, he was apparently a very talented kid. They wanted him. He left Alabama for Oregon. Must have
Yep.
been NIL money or something. But it was a talented guy. And you looked at him. The three guys that died in the car crash. Those guys played Division I football too.
Yep.
I don't think they weren't pro prospects, but they were all high school teammates and. I was reading something about the record that they had. They'd won a couple of state titles and killed,
Out in
beat
Maryland, right?
everybody. Yeah, but it's a school with they've had like three other players from those teams die
Mm.
from various things that have happened. I read yesterday, so it's but I don't know. I don't know if they were racing, but somebody was racing. The woman driving the other car was
Mm.
cut in front of him in a
Yeah.
lane. And I live, 3 blocks off 100,
Oh yeah.
and we're getting 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, all weekend. You get
You can
the
hear it.
police chases. You can hear the police chases,
Mm.
and it's there's the youth of America has gone insane. I mean, I hate to be sounding like the old guy, but I'm in that traffic at 94,
Yeah.
leaving the radio station at three
Right.
o'clock in the afternoon or something. And then also at night coming back maybe from a Saints game or
Ball game. Yeah.
visiting my grandkids or something in Woodbury. And they're all nuts. They're driving by it. The traffic's coming up. You're a mile from the bridge and the tunnel, and the
Oh
traffic's
yeah.
coming up. People are racing each other to get in front of one car.
Yes.
And if you see one, kind of a sports car, we used to call them, zip past you, another one, when cut in front of you,
Yeah.
another one's coming, one or two more are coming. And,
Yes.
it's, and I have no idea. They said it might be months before they release what happened, but
Right.
they suggested alcohol was involved, and it was a woman driver of the other
The other
vehicle
car.
that
Yeah.
cut in front of them and hit them and sent their car. They just got the bad break in that car. They went into
The
some
trees.
tree stumps or
Tree
something
stumps.
that
Yeah.
had been cut down, and Yeah, too bad. It
Yeah.
was. I mean, I obviously never got to know the kid, but
No, me neither.
man alive, it's. We've had a few. We've had a few of tragedies like that, but not too
Yes.
many with the football team. We had Corey die on the field, of
Oh
course,
gosh.
but
Yeah.
1960. I might do something on this. 1965.
Okay.
We had a rookie, Terry Dillon, was either
Okay.
63 or 64, who was came in out of Montana, and
Okay.
he played good as a safety as a rookie, and he was back home in Montana,
Hmm.
finishing his degree in work and construction
Yeah.
on a bridge. And the bridge gave way as during
Oh.
the construction,
Oh.
and he drowned.
Oh.
He drowned in a one of those raging rivers in
Oh
Montana,
man.
and May 28th, 1964 or five, one of those, and it tells you that first of all, they when the season was over, they went
Yes.
home. They
Right.
went home and came
And
back
started
and
working again. Yes.
worked jobs, and then showed up in August because
Yeah.
Bud, of course, that was Van Brocklin, but he used to have long training camps in Bemidji, and Bud, of course, was the last guy in America to ever have agree to have a mini camp because he didn't want to. He wanted to be up the lake fishing
Yes.
in May. He didn't want to be down here practicing football. So yeah, it's too bad. It's I mean, I didn't know the kid, but man
No,
alive,
but
just anybody at
no,
24 that's
I know it.
got a future like that,
I
and
know.
wow. So
Yeah, that was not the news wanted to see when you wake up in the morning on a any day, but a holiday weekend. You're just like, oh man, you just gonna start thinking about what can happen. Pivoting out of that, uh, Timberwolves. Let's finish there. We've got uh, some news last week, right? They signed Joe Ingles, which should be kind of fun. He
yeah.
should be good for us. He is a talker, Patrick. You'll like. I think you'll like
He's
Joe
an
Ingles. You
all
can get you'll get
he's
some
an
columns out
Aussie,
of him.
right? He's an
But
Aussie, right?
he is an
He's a
Aussie. He's an
United
Aussie,
States.
and he's a talker. He's a trash talker. He's also a good media talker. We lost Jordan McLaughlin though. He's going to Sacramento. No
Okay,
surprise
it's time
there. That's
to
fine.
move on.
It
Go
was time to move
someplace.
on from him, but
They didn't, they did everything they could to not play him. So
yes.
they played Morris before they played him. But yeah, they got Ingles, and they signed it also a guard that
Oh yeah.
Dozier
Yeah,
that
PJ
is
Dozier. That's going to be confusing to me because
probably
they had
iffy for the iffy to make the team, I would think. But Connolly had him 2 3 years ago when he
in
was
Denver, yeah.
and he played okay, and then he got injured, and he was playing in Europe or
Playing
someplace.
overseas, yeah. And they definitely need I mean they had so few guys, they had to sign somebody. Like they were down to like 10 guys on the roster after some of the trades and moves they'd made. So once they signed
But
Ingles and this guy, they were up to 12 again.
I think it's time to, you got to look at Leonard Miller, you got to look at
Yes.
Clark, you got to
You wrote
look
about
at
Clark, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they love Clark, and but I thought they did, but then they go sign this other guy. I guess they're looking for
Oh, you
just
gotta
in
have
case. But it's
yeah, you
time
gotta have
to,
depth. Yeah.
one thing going into next year is. Finchie's going to have to expand the playing time here, and he's got a lot of
Yes.
young guys you want to look at, and he not only the two rookies, but Minot is how's
Mm-hmm.
that pronounced?
Minot.
Minot or
Yeah. Josh Minot, yeah.
Minot. You got to look at him. You got to look at Miller. You got to look at Clark.
Yeah. And the two rookies too.
Clark was on the two rookies, and then Clark was telling me this Knicks guy's a player.
Yes, they like him.
They played him for like 5 minutes, and one
Right.
night when I was down there, and he made about three shots, and then they didn't play him again. But Finchie kind of stuck with his, went to the benches. When he had a 9 man and somebody got hurt, he had an 8 man. He didn't go expand and go look for
Right.
somebody.
That's
And
true.
they brought Garza back too on a
They did.
one-way contract. So,
Correct.
I think you should, you're going to be in the playoffs.
Yes.
You're going to be fine. So I think the first 40 games of the year, you ought to give these young guys a chance. And,
See
some
who
nights they
yeah.
might have to sit, but some nights you want to give them a run too and see how it goes. But the one thing I like about Connolly, there's several things, but one thing I like about him is when he uses a second round pick, it's not just throwing it at
Correct.
the wall. There's a
Right.
reason. Took this
Yes.
Clark. He took this Clark who he knew he had a torn Achilles. He
Achilles.
wasn't
Yep.
going to play, but otherwise he's a late first rounder. You get him late in the second round.
Yeah.
There's a reason. You get, you bring in Leonard Miller. You
Miller
make
was a
it.
second rounder. Yeah.
You give 2 draft choices, 2 second rounders to San Antonio for him because you think he's a player. And they're not just, it's not like the Con when he drafted a second rounder
No.
who was 27 years old
Or,
and ineligible to be drafted. So,
right. That was who was that? Bayumbo? I can't remember who it is. That was the story of the that was an amazing story when that happened. The
yeah.
guy that we weren't even sure existed.
I think the other thing I discovered, I'm not a faithful Sports Center watcher like
Hmm.
I used to be, but
Hmm.
I kind of like the late night one with Van Pelt once in
Yeah,
a
that is
while,
good.
but that wasn't it. But last night, to try to get you to watch it, they were
Yes.
saying you won't believe what Anthony Edwards said tonight, and he has become, when it's in your own market, you don't know how much steam it
Right.
has,
Right.
for a want of a better word, nationally. But he's got steam. People, the youth of America
Yes.
loves the guy.
Yes.
They
For
love the
good
guy.
reason. Yeah.
They show up and watch the dunks. The replay
Hmm.
the dunks last year. I'm trying to think of. I guess KG was the last time, but hype wasn't hype.
Wasn't what it was. Yeah.
20 years ago isn't
Yes.
what it is
Different.
now.
Correct.
And we haven't had an athlete like this in any sport since who? Fuck.
Mo-
I don't know.
Moss. I mean,
Yeah, Moss. Yeah, Moss for sure. Yeah, Moss was. He was the phenom
yeah.
as a rookie. It was definitely Moss. Yeah, but this is. To have a guy sign up to a contract. You've already given him his max there.
Yeah.
You got him here for what, four at least, five,
Yeah. 4 or 5. Yeah.
four, and to have him be right now one of the 3 or 4 biggest guys in the NBA because
Yes.
he's, Durant's old.
Yeah.
All these other guys are old. This guy's 23 or
I
something,
think he just turned
and
23. Yeah.
yeah, it's phenomenal for Minnesota sports to have a guy who's a focal point of attention in the NBA. The
Yes.
NBA is weird now, man, though, because I'm not sure, like, the TV ratings aren't great for the finals or anything like that, but the the attention paid to it year round and the summer sometimes is hotter than when they're
Yes.
signing
Oh
free agents
gosh,
and
it
stuff like
is.
that.
Yes.
And it's
We
and
love
it,
the
and
off
they,
season. Anything's
I
possible.
remember talking to Chip, and Chip's, his 2 sons, they're basketball nuts,
Right.
and their favorite, they can't wait to watch highlights of the guy from Memphis who had gotten all the trouble.
Ja
Who's
Morant.
the
Yeah.
Yeah, Ja Morant. Who's your favorite player? Ja Morant
Right.
in Woodbury,
Yep.
because I don't know if
Yep.
he still is. It's probably Ant now,
It might be. Yeah.
but what
But
I'm
it's
saying is
yes.
that's how that's the videos is you talk to guys coaching 12 or 13 or 15-year-old baseball, and none of their kids who play for them, they like baseball, but they don't watch any games. They don't
No,
watch
they
any
watch
games,
highlight
but they
clips.
watch highlights.
Yes.
And I think that's the same way with basketball. And there's more highlights to see in basketball. So,
Well, that reminds me of it was like a couple of years ago at our All Metro Sports Awards thing with all the high school kids. I went around and asked them, like, how do you guys watch sports? And some of them watch, some full games or have a favorite team, but a lot of them are just like, I watch on TikTok, YouTube, like social
yes,
media. Like they're getting them in the 5 or 10 minute bites, if that, and just kind of seeing
yes,
the best of the best of the best. And quick correction, by the way, Ant is not yet 23. He turns 23 next month, so he's still
okay.
22 right now. So he's rising still, as you say.
Yeah, and and everything. I can't wait to hear the interview. And then I heard what he said at the podium, and then it made no sense because it was Ant. So
Well, yeah,
it was. Yeah, I think I'm who's the number one option? I am. How much are you
Yeah.
going to play? I don't know. There might be nights I don't play because we got all these old guys, So it's
And
if
he's
you follow the logic of his,
yeah.
if you follow the line of his observations, they often contradict each other, but they're fun. So
And
that's
it's
everybody loves them.
and it's stream of consciousness, and nobody
Yes.
talks that way anymore. Everybody's gotten to
No.
these guys and be like, no, you can't say
Yes.
that, you can't say this. He's just like, I'm this. I'm going to say what
Yeah.
I want. This is just what I
You
do.
got
I just say
notes
what I want.
when he dropped the mother of all bombs at the podium and
Oh yeah,
during
right.
the Western Tour, and that was during the second round or the third round. I mean, I'm saying there's a guy with no awareness. I
No,
mean, you got guys like Chris Hine and people who are in the locker room every day, and he has
yeah,
no idea who the hell they are. He doesn't. What? Yeah, I think is he the one that asked Chris? So what do you do? Yeah,
I
why
don't know.
are you in here every day? He
Right,
wasn't offended by it. He
just
was just
right.
curious.
He's just
I mean,
curious.
they're
Yeah,
not.
he's
I've said that for years, though, that that things have changed enough that because of ESPN and everything,
mm-hmm.
they know what's being said by the big
Yes,
hitters. Not all of them, but the big hitters
yeah,
on the ESPN or stuff. But as a columnist, back 25 years ago, you
oh
write
yeah,
something insulting about the Twins, they'd all
oh yeah,
come screaming. They'd surround you in the clubhouse and yell at
right.
you. Now they don't
No,
give it. You can write anything you want to. They don't give a damn. So,
no, you'd have to try
yeah.
really hard. The Vikings, I remember, like, what was it? John Randall would come screaming for you. Where's Rusey? Where's Rusey?
Well, John Randall had those when we had those drawing photos, for years of the
Oh,
columnists.
yeah,
Yeah, we had Barrero, and
yep.
Barrero was still with us. And Barrero, and he had paint on his side of his locker. He had them taped, the headshot of each of us there,
Okay.
because to know who was who
Oh,
was he
really?
mad at. And I went over and I said, John, it's not that tough. You know, he weighs about 180 and I weigh 280. I said, I'm the big fat guy. He's the slim guy. And it's not that tough to figure it out. And yeah, now that was, I mean, oh God, it used to be terrible in the Viking locker room. You'd try
Oh,
to
yeah.
interview somebody and Studwell would be screaming, don't talk to that bleeper. And now they don't care. They don't,
No.
they got other things to worry about.
Oh, they got a place. They got a lot of places they can run and hide now too. Those old locker rooms, you
Oh
couldn't
God,
run and
oh
hide as
yeah,
easily.
that's true. I see that the once again MLB is trying to get the baseball writers awards on TV, and
Hmm.
then trying to make some kind of a deal with them. And the Baseball Writers Association big thing was for more access,
Yeah.
longer periods of access.
Yep.
Well, not unless you can get the fire marshal and go walk back in the back room and order them
Right.
out to the locker room. It doesn't
Right.
make any difference. They're not going
No,
to be there.
it's just
You
longer
know.
time to stand around and do nothing these days.
Yes,
A lot
that's
of it. I
right.
mean,
That's
or
exactly how it
find
is.
somebody who's there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now most places, if you go up and hang out next to the batting cage, they'll call the cops. We used to just walk up and
That's true.
start to talk to somebody between swings. So
That's true. I
it's
do. I'm young. I'm young enough to remember the good old days. The old enough to remember the good old
yeah,
days, however you want to put it. I remember those. Just going up and talking to Joe Mauer about all sorts of
yeah,
stuff in the mid to late 2000s, and now you
yeah.
can't really do
It's I
that.
mean, it's not terrible, but it's the other thing is. Although newspapers don't have as many, we were still fully staffed, but there's not as many newspaper people around, but there's
No.
way more people around when you're trying to talk to somebody.
Oh,
So,
sure. A lot of different
the
media. Yeah.
idea of sitting down in the dugout and talking to somebody for 20 minutes at 3 in the afternoon by yourself is off the boards. So it's a
Yeah.
completely different world, and it's but to have people, I remember getting surrounded in the clubhouse by Stovic and Marty Cordova and that whole crew, Walker,
Yeah.
and they're all screaming at me. They're around there because somebody started. I talking with somebody and he started barking, and then they all got in on it. And my only defense was, Hey guys, I look at the standings every morning. You know, I've
those are
been, and that was in my defense. I'm looking at the standings. You're
yeah
25 under. You know,
yeah
you're
like
40 games out of first. Okay,
yeah.
somebody
If you
among you has to stink.
if
To
you
be that many games under
if you look at
500.
if you were part of any of that 8 year run from 93 to
Yes, right.
2000, you might
Yes,
have been culpable in some
yeah.
of the lack of success.
And the only guy that you was more offended by you than me was your manager. I want to tell
Yes.
you that. Yes,
Yes.
he hated you too. Don't worry
Yes.
about it.
Yeah. If you want to read a worse version of this, have Tom Kelly jot down some of his thoughts too.
Yes, which he never really gave us with the when the notebook was out. You didn't really get the
Yes.
good stuff. Let's
No.
put it that way.
I
So,
imagine those teams frustrated him just a little bit.
mhm.
Uh,
Todd
well,
Walker, man, ooh,
yeah.
he did not like a second baseman who couldn't turn a double play. Now
No.
you Todd Walker would be great in this era because you could you stand him over there and tell him to cover that 8 feet when a ground ball gets hit, and
No, and yeah, and he could hit for a while. He was contending for a batting title in
oh yeah,
'98
he
for
could
a
hit. He
while.
could always hit. He could hit some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's a completely different world. But hey, we got the ant.
Yep.
Fantastic. We got a
Yep.
baseball team, what, 12 over? Way
Yeah.
none of
Really
us
good.
ever imagined. None
Way
of
better
us
than I
ever
thought they were.
imagined this. Vikings, of course, dealing with a tragedy now, but
Yeah.
I think they're headed in the right direction. And
Yeah. Maybe not this
so the
year, but
hockey team's got to
no,
figure it out.
they got to figure it out. They got one more year of purgatory. Somewhat self-inflicted purgatory. You could either have,
Well,
the bad guys in the room, or you could have
he just gave $14 million to
yes,
some guy who couldn't score a goal if he'd
some
locked him in
penalty
the
kill.
arena by
We
himself.
we can penalty kill. We're going to do that. You know what though? It's cheaper to find guys who can win 3-2 than it is 5-4. So that's what we're
Oh
going to do.
heavens,
That's what we're going to
yes.
do for
Oh
another year.
heavens. Yes, that's true. And you got to get they got that kid they got from Denver. Supposedly,
Yes.
he's going to go back to. He might not be available for a couple of years, but he's supposed to be
He's gonna be good.
favored. So
Yeah, he's going to be really
anyway,
good. They'll be all right
plus
down the
they
road,
don't.
but
Plus, the one thing they got going for them is the fans don't care. They're going to show up
no.
with their two kids and spend thousands of dollars anyway.
Yep.
So what the
Yep.
hell?
And maybe someday they'll actually be good. It is uh, it's the fact that they've been around for what, about a quarter of a century now, right? Almost a quarter century since they debuted. What,
But
2000? Oh,
yes, yes.
2001 was
One
their first
run,
season.
one
One
run,
playoff run, four
2003.
four playoff series wins in that time, and in a
Oh,
league where they have advantages, where there's a hard salary cap. That is not good. They should
and
have been better at some point. They should have been a little bit better than that.
by the way, our Lynx lose Collier for a while. That
Yes,
ain't good.
that's not
And
good. And the
but
Loons,
here's
six
the
losses
other
in a
one
row.
last.
Yeah,
What?
the Loons have
One
six
last
losses
thing.
in a row now. Go on.
Yes, the Loons. Are the Aurora ever going to stop embarrassing us? They are humiliating us once again. We got Blair Walsh for them now. They miss a penalty kick. They get beat again. It's time to start ripping the Aurora. Come on.
Okay, I
As we
love
give
it.
them all these big stories, pre-professional, and then they go out and choke. They've choked three, and they start choking earlier every year. It's time for the Aurora to spend more money. They're too cheap. The
Yes,
cheap Aurora. I don't
the
know who
cheap
owns them, but
Aurora.
we
The
don't
cheap.
have the cheap pole ads. We can't
No,
blame the cheap pole ads, but the
no.
cheap Aurora got to
Yeah,
stop humiliating our local committed sports fans. It's enough. We don't have to put it up with it anymore.
that's the rant I didn't know I needed, but now that I have it, I had to have it. Patrick, appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, sir.